So I'm Aaron Yorke, and alongside my awesome people that are here, we've set up a thing called Accepting Behaviour, which is kind of, some of you know about what we do, some of you don't, but we're just going to share some case studies basically from today, stuff that I've been working on over the past year. So it's new stuff, it's stuff that most of you won't have heard. The Accept approach, if you haven't heard of it, you're going to learn about that today, and you're going to get a lot from today. So I'm very excited. So we will start. And sorry about the weather, and thank you for coming, for making it, which leads me on to thanking you first for just being awesome. I don't know you all, but you know, I presume you are awesome because you're here. I like quotes because it kind of helps, you know, inspires everyone. And this is Gandhi's quote. It says, "We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world changes towards him. This is divine mystery supreme, a wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do." It's a bit long-winded. What he's basically saying is if you change, things change around you. And that's what I've started to notice ever since I released myself from the clutches of the local authority. But, one of the things about changing, we all hate it, especially the older we get. But if we change nothing, nothing changes. And I love this. Has anyone seen this picture? Everyone puts their hand up. Who wants change? And everyone's hand put out. Yeah. And then who wants to change? No one, right? And I basically, there's little me with my hand up. And I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm not. I just think differently. And I know there's a lot of you that think the same way as I do. But for many years, especially in the profession of autism, I felt alone until I found my tribe. And Teresa's not on this, but it's because she's in Wales, but I'll leave it there. So this is my tribe. And it's a team of all sorts of different people, and we're building and growing on a day-to-day basis. And I don't feel alone anymore, which is great because that's really important. So just as a background, me just really quickly, qualified at about 17, 18 years ago as a teacher. Special needs school was where I sat and felt, oh, this is me. Right? And then Jane, my wife, she kind of inspired me to be a teacher. And she keeps reminding me of that. It's because of you that you do what you do. And then I became an autism advisor, which I absolutely loved. But the thing I struggled with was the constraints about there's only so far I could go. So that was kind of why I stepped out of it. And now I'm an educational consultant. So I work with schools and local authorities. I do work with local authorities, but independently. It's very different. It's interesting. But it's great. A lot of Worcester is the main one at the moment that are really embracing us, which is great. Hopefully it'll carry on. And I've got some work published, which is the Accept approach. So that's it. So that's me. Right. And I'm also autistic, and I've got a bit of ADHD in the mix. And then I'm a parent of two amazing autistic kids. Cameron is a lot bigger now. He's ugly now, so I just show his little picture. It's cute, isn't it? And he's not really ugly. He's just yeah. Anyway, there's Lily. Lily's amazing. She's 11. And so basically, without trying to get too emotional, so definitely misunderstood. Mainly myself. I weren't really bothered by other people as a kid, but I misunderstood myself. And as I got older, then other people started to misunderstand me too. So it became a big thing with my self-esteem because I had a great childhood. Me and my brother's over there, he's awesome. And we had a really good childhood, and then our mum and dad split up, and then all shit hit the fan. So, and I just started to notice that it wasn't okay to be me, and I thought I was all right. I used to do little odd things, but didn't we all? And then I'm massively failed by the schooling system, but that was back in the 90s. No, it wasn't, in the 80s. They didn't really, I was just naughty, bad, selfish, rude, all the words that you know, teachers say about your kids, but don't tell you. No, I'm joking. Yeah, and I just kind of just grew up thinking, well, that it's my fault. So whenever a teacher said, Yorke, go to the head teacher, I was like, oh, I just kind of expected it before I even walked through the door. Sometimes I should be like, I'll just go, shall I? And so I just kind of picked up this message that I'm just no good. So I kind of built this self-esteem issue, which, you know, most of us have got anyway. So I do live with mental health issues, don't we all? But I really do struggle with it. But in general, I'm okay. I'm in my 12th marriage now. It's my second one, so I'm doing all right. But yeah, Jane has a special way of coping with me, which I'm sure she'll tell you about if you want to go and see it. Where else? I have a brain that never shuts off, ever, okay? Oh, and then not accepting employment, massive. As a kid, when I got to about 18, 19, I just used to just leave a job. I'd have a panic attack and just leave, because thankfully we lived at our mum's, so it was, you know, she'd always cook me breakfast in the morning, so it's kind of all right. And then when I realised I was having Cameron, I was like, oh my God, I need to get a job. So I wanted to be a special needs teacher, but I struggled in that. Maybe I'm just like, need to control my whole life myself. That's probably what it is. Maybe I'm just no good at being managed. I don't know. But anyway, so moving on. So that's me in a nutshell. Oh, I shouldn't have done this. See, I'd probably doing this at like 3 in the morning going, oh, that'll look good. So where are we at in the United Kingdom? Okay. I am getting to my thinking, and then most of you know what I think anyway. It's all about acceptance, and we just got to accept the kids for who they are, and that is it. You don't need to do anything else. But I'm going to give you the evidence as to why I think that. But where are we in the United Kingdom? There's so much out there, and I just want to condense it because of times, and I just want to engage you. I don't want this to be a boring conference. But generally, if you look at how many kids or how many people are autistic, the most recent is this study. So it's 1 in 57. I know the National Autistic Society say 1 in 60 or then 1 in 100. It's about around there. It doesn't matter. But all I want you to know today is that's the person that we're focusing on today. Not interested in all these, like, because they do all right. Okay? Not I'll kick them when I see them. Oh, you're a happy child. No, I don't really. But this is that one kid, right, that I've always felt connected to. I'm pretty convinced most of you will be able to relate to one of these isms, I guess. It's probably a good thing. Mental health issues, can't process or retain information, easily upset, struggles to be with others, argumentative. No, I'm not. Anyway, doesn't respond to traditional support in school, easily overwhelmed, can't cope with demands. I mean, does that kind of, that's all right. Does that, 20 push-ups, please. Does that, you don't have to. Does that kind of make a good picture of the kids we're involved in, maybe? I'm sure there were different things, but so that's that one, right, in that group. And what the government have found, so the All Parliamentary Group, they're a good source to go to, okay, because they're all high up professionals and they just literally look at what's out there. And what they found is that many thousands of autistic people who need support in the classroom, at home, at work, and in every aspect of every life are not getting it. And when considered why this is, they found that these unmet needs stem from poor understanding by professionals and a lower awareness of the duties. So you can get that. So if you just type in APGA, I'm sure most of you know, but has anyone ever seen that before? No? Okay. This is the thing I want you to really be aware of. Professionals have a poor understanding of autism. Now, I'm a professional, and when I was a dad, when Cameron was 3 and 4, and he was running off to school, spinning and being just a beautiful kid, I thought, oh, he'll be all right because schools support kids, don't they? And I'm not saying all schools don't, but generally, what this finding has found actually started to hit home with what I found in the schools I was supporting and with the families I was trying to help. There was a poor understanding. And that's quite hard. I mean, how many professionals are here who work in the field? Do you have a poor understanding?
Yes.
I don't. Yes. Well, I mean, I think, you know what? I think there are people who have a good understanding. And I think that's the problem. There aren't many of us. So we get shut down or told to, be quiet. I was escorted off a school premises once, right? Well, I don't know. It was a bit embarrassing. I was there waiting. The Senko went, Aaron, can I have a word? I hadn't done anything wrong. Basically, the head teacher had said, I don't believe this acceptance thing. Autism is a behavioural issue, and I will not have that man in this school ever again. And I'm like, okay, bye. It's just like, so that was and when I found this, I was like, that makes sense, because it's not about people being not nice. It's actually about people maybe not understanding autism. Where does that leave us then? Well, I've got a son now who's 25 or 24. He's 20 something. God, I can't believe it. And I've now got a daughter who's 11. And for me, my experience, sadly, it's not something like, hey, my son struggles with mental health issues and he's autistic and finds life hard. It's difficult, isn't it? But there's a massive gap between them. And when I took Cameron to the doctors or tried to get the traditional support that you watch Rain Man and you can see, and you watch all the films and you read Tony Attwood's books and you think, oh, great, we know how to help these autistic kids. We just got to get into that support. And the message that Cameron's doctors told me, there isn't much support. It's very difficult to get support. There's a lack of this, there's a lack of that. When Lily needed it, it was the same message 15 years on. And I was like, there's something not right here. And this is kind of my experience. You guys might not have this experience. And again, there are good professionals. I'm not saying everyone else is rubbish and we're the good ones. It's more, I think that poor understanding is true. So I'm starting to agree with that. Go a lot more. Traditional autism strategies. What do you do when they don't work? Are there any people from schools here? Okay. What do you do? What do you do when a social story and a now and next board gets thrown across a room? That's the question I always ask myself, because I don't do those resources. If a kid needs them, I'll do them. But in general, I've not met many. I don't know any autistic adults, forgive me if any of you do, that have a laminated social story pack in there. But hold on. I'll speak to Tracy, which one, I don't know. Right? SEN strategies. Now that's taking it further, because with autism traditional strategies, there are specialist ones, aren't they? What do you do when they don't work? And then you get the psychological advice, don't you? And then what do you do when that doesn't work? And then there's the parenting. Have you all been to your parenting groups? Have you all been sent to them? Are you better now because of them? But I was finding parents had been on these courses. They're like, but it's not me that's the problem. And I'm like, I know it's not. But, so what do you do in all that stuff? Because what I found now in all my years I've worked with kids, whether I've read reports or whether I've had one-on-one meetings, this was common for me. None of this stuff was working. It might have worked for a week. And everyone goes, yes, we've done it. Oh, no, he's eating it. It's like, it's kind of... and here's the thing, like anything, isn't it? If it works, just do it, okay? But I found there were more kids that it wasn't working for. And I was like, in meetings, well, what about those kids? I remember this little kid now, and me and Teresa used to work with him, and he's still at home, this beautiful little kid. Oh, you know the one in King's North. Just left. But the school would say, oh, but if he could come in, we could do wonders with him. And I'm like, you don't understand. So, and now they're calling them ghosted children, aren't they? It's like, come on, what is going on? There are a lot of kids that are in school, that are happy, but are in this category. So that's who I'm interested in. I'm not interested in those kids because they're all right, okay? So this is all that I've been doing now in my research. I don't work for a university or anything like that, so a lot of my research has come from my practice, which I think is good because I'm not in an office just reading, I'm actually hands-on. And that's who I'm interested in, the ones that haven't responded, which leads me on to the Accept approach. You can get this article now, I'm allowed to release it. It's on my website, so if you go to acceptingbehaviour.com, it's on the first page, there's a link. Just download the PDF and have a read. It's a case study of 2 kids that I've worked with, but it breaks down those 2 kids in question were out of school and they ended up going back. Now, I'm not saying that that's what the Accept approach is about, because you'll see that in a second, but it's a good grounding point for you to read what the Accept approach is. It sits within constructivism. So what that is, it's a theory of learning, like most things are just theories. But the idea is that a learner constructs their own knowledge better than just passively being taught. So school is a taught program, isn't it? I'm the teacher, you're the child, I know what's in the curriculum, I'm right, you're wrong, okay? Autistic kids don't respond to that, I found. But what they do respond to is learning things themselves, okay? So that's where it sits. The child is the most important. Now, I'm not just saying that because I'm, reading the code of practice. The child is the most important. So if a child says to me, Aaron, I don't like you, I go. I don't go, oh, that's rude. It's the child in the difficulties that statement makes is the most important, okay? which is accept the child 100%. It's all about acceptance-based work. A lot of acceptance-based work comes from therapy, and I'm trying to get it into the education system. I'm not going to talk about the acceptance-based stuff too much because I'll do that in a second. Behaviour strategies are not used. I'm not a behaviourist. Some of you might go, well, actually, it's good. And again, if it works, keep doing it. My experience, behaviourist approaches, behaviour modification approaches in a real basic thing, good sitting. Has anyone ever seen good sitting in a school? Which is good, isn't it? Because you're all good sitting now, aren't you? You're all doing good sitting. But if there was an adult at the back pacing or jumping up and down or shaking their leg, I used to get told off in professional autism meetings for shaking my leg. Oh, will you stop shaking your legs? Like, I can't help it. Didn't even know I was doing it. But my argument is, so you've got that, you see the picture, good sit. What would good sitting look like to everyone? Just throw out some.
I can tell you, feet on the floor.
Feet on the floor.
Back against, it's for the teacher. Back against the chair.
Back against the chair.
Bottom on.
Yeah, but so, and do you know why good sitting is good? Yeah, and look, what does anyone know why good sitting is seen as being good?
Because it doesn't just disrupt the teacher.
Yeah, it helps the teacher teach the class. But imagine if you've got an itchy bum, right? Is good sitting going to be good for you in that session? No. And that's kind of what it, in my theory, it's like, well, I went into a school in Castle Vale. Lovely school, loved it. And this amazing teacher, like, Aaron, I want to do better, I want to do better. And on the wall, there was this, she'd been told to photograph all the kids sitting on a chair. These were non-verbal, there's about 5 of them. And they were sitting on a chair, as you could see, right? They just were told to sit on the chair. They took a picture of them and then put good sitting. And when people walk around, they go, oh, this classroom's good, isn't it? Because they're all sitting on the chair. And then I said to her, right, so that's good sitting. She went, well, yeah, that is it. I went, well, let's have a look. And we turned around. There was 5 kids. One of them was lying on the floor. The other was just spinning around in a corner. This teacher was ace. She was just like, they're doing them. Another one was jumping up and down. There was one sitting on a chair. And I said, right, that's good sitting. She went, oh, okay. So you photographed that. Does that make sense? But people don't like that. So that's why I don't use behaviour strategies, because I don't think autism is a behavioural condition, which it isn't. But that's why I don't think kids respond to behavioural strategies, because it's not behaviour that we're dealing with. But anyway, I'll go into that in a little bit more. What we are dealing with is intrinsic or inside motivation, okay? Which I'll go into again a little bit more. And they're different, they're not broke. We all know that, we've all seen that, we've all got the memes, but I actually mean it in the accept approach, okay? It's not, you're different, you're not broke, but I need you to be a bit normal in that situation. It's none of that, all right? This is a basic statement of the accept approach. Whatever problem, behaviour or struggle the autistic child is presenting with, whatever issue they're having at school or at home, the first step, so it's the first stage, is to accept them just as they are, unconditionally, without judgment, or as my mum used to say, warts and all, okay? I was a nightmare child. My mum accepted me unconditionally, trust me. Now, is that an easy thing to do? No. And that's important, because sometimes people misunderstand this. And they go, well, you can't just let them do what they want. Well, yes, you can, because there's a reason why, because that's all they can do. But when you realise how difficult it is, then you start coming up with what Ros Green talks about, the sympathetic approach. So you know that actually that's just who they are. Okay, so I've got to change my profession, then not the kid. Okay, so that's it, right? And the idea is I want to break the negative loop. Okay, before I end up in a mental asylum, rocking in a corner because of stress, I want to be able to have changed something in life. And this is the thing I really want to change, because for me as a kid, for my children and for the kids I work with, they're stuck in a loop when I start with them, especially the work we're doing. There's this negative loop, and some of you might recognise it. They feel like they've got to be better. And these are for more the verbal kids. The non-verbal kids are the same, but they just don't care what you think. But they still struggle with this stuff. My behaviour needs to improve. It's my fault. Now they're not told that. I was told that as a kid, but we're a little bit more PC now, aren't we? We just say it, people just say it, behind their backs. But the reality is, if you want a child to sit still in assembly, you're saying it's their fault that they can't sit still. That's my thinking on it. I need to change. So if a kid can't sit still in a classroom, it's their fault. Johnny, you're disrupting the rest of the class. I've seen Matt reports, I've seen that he disrupts the rest of the class. That was Cameron, basically. This wonderful teacher, I'll never forget, just absolutely hated my child. And he was this golden-haired little boy. And he'd sit under the tables, and the head teacher called us in once. She said, now, such and such teacher, she's had to sign off work now because of stress, because of your child. And I'm just thinking, okay, there's something not right here, because she was a very experienced teacher, apparently, and that she probably was, but she had that low professional understanding of autism, didn't she? But I didn't realise that back then. So this is what the accept approach does. It flips it around. Accepting anxiety instead of removing it. Behaviour is a sign of unmet need. That's getting around a lot more, which is good. It is not their fault. Or as a little boy I'm working with at the moment, it's not my damn fault. Because at first he hated it, but now he doesn't say it now. He accepts it, but initially he hated it because actually a lot of kids don't like to know it's not their fault because all they've heard is it is their fault. Right, I'm different, I'm not broke, I don't need to change, I'm fine just the way I am. That's what the accept approach aims to get. And it is starting to massively now because other people are starting to apply it in different settings and I'm starting to see feedback now and I'm like, awesome, it's getting there. This is it in a nutshell. I won't go into it too much because of time. The journal, this is kind of where we're at with it. There's two roles. There's you and there's the child. You're the acceptor. They're the accepted. That's all you need to know. Imagine like Game of Thrones. I was watching Game of Thrones when I came up with those names. The acceptor. Anyway, this is the bit we'll stay on the most. This bit, the thing's not working. Remove, remind, reassure, reaffirm. The four found. Oh yeah, you're getting the video as well. Don't worry about photos, yeah. Just listen. Or get up and go, whatever you want to do. This is free. Honestly, we accept you for who you are. As long as you don't fidget on your chair. No, I'm joking. The seed plan is more for school. So if any of you school people, there's a seed plan which we use. Doesn't measure progression. It's not about outcomes. It's about what we call purposeful aims. And they're much better. And I'm trying to fight and push. In all the EHCPs I write, I'm trying to scrap the outcome word because I hate it. But anyway, I'll explain why. Or you can come speak to me later if I run out of time. So that's it. That's in a nutshell what it is. So there's an issue, a problem, something a kid's struggling with. You apply the four foundations, which we're going to go through, and it's a loop. You just keep coming around, and then the problem solving is at the end. So usually, when there's a problem in a classroom, you try and fix it first, don't you? But with the accept approach, I believe you do it at the end, and the reason is because the problem usually just fades away on its own once you apply these foundations, and you'll see that in a second. Right, so this is the crux of today for me. Remove, remind, reaffirm, reassure. Let's go straight into it actually. So the end result, if there is a result or an outcome, this is a personal thing. So whenever we're applying the accept approach, this is what we're looking at or looking for. This can occur within a session. I was with a girl 2 weeks ago, has been out of school for a year. The school are really supportive, but she's been out of school for a year. School haven't spoke to her at all for a year. So she's just been on roll. Within half an hour, she broke down in tears, happy tears, because she'd never been told it wasn't her fault. And she's like a 13 years old, absolutely. Me and Jane were like, it's okay. And the mum had never been told it was her. And how simple is that? And that is one of the foundations. You remind a kid it's not their fault. It's such a simple thing. So this accept approach is really easy to apply. But that's the idea. Well, I'm going to break them down now. So a problem occurs and you have got a kid that, well, I don't know, I'm going to come up with some, give me a suggestion, come on, challenge it. Let's challenge the accept approach. Give me a problem. School people, give me a problem.
A child that won't come into school in the morning.
Okay, so the first stage was what? You accept them for who they are. So, what are you going to remove? Just give me some ideas. Well, you can't remove school. Well, you can. But in that incident, you remove the expectation to go to school, right? And here's the thing, you have to step away, because if you're going back to that constructivist view that the child will process things themselves independently. I know that's not really constructivism, but it's kind of where I'm trying to fit this. I'm adamant, Carl Rogers, who's a humanist psychologist, he believes that we all have the answers ourselves. And that's kind of where I fit. It's scary when a kid can't come to school, especially when the head teacher or the welfare officer is saying, well, he needs to, she needs to, oh, they're all right once they're in, all that kind of stuff. But with the accept approach, you say, no, we're going to remove that expectation, right? And this is it in a nutshell. I like Albert Einstein. He kind of got some things that most of us will never get. But I didn't understand this for many years. I do now. Once we accept our limits, we go beyond them. What's the limit with the child? They can't do something. They can't go to a school. Once we accept that, then something better happens. And we've got a case where this is quite extreme, so it kind of touched on this, but there is a lad I will talk about it if I get a chance. Mainstream placement failed. This is this year. Specialist provision failed. I'm not going to go into why, it doesn't matter, because with the accept approach, it doesn't matter. You're just accepting it for what it is. We applied the 4 foundations of acceptance. He now engages with us. He's happier, he's less anxious, and he's starting to accept help. Now, does he have little meltdowns and freak out? Yes. But his mum texts Jane. Jane works with this lad a lot. And his mum texts her saying, oh my God, he's just finished your session. He's jumping up and down for joy, smiling his little head off. I was invited yesterday with his mum and his dad into his room, his inner sanctum, to show me his Nerf gun wall, which Jane, we need to talk about, which was amazing. So from the accept approach, I'm accepting that this kid can't do something, and I'm all right with it. He's starting to see now that we're consistent adults that get him, because no other person's ever been in his room, and I didn't know. His mum went, I can't believe it. So, now next session might go tits up again. And like the Friday before, we said, I don't want you in my house, and that was fine. But that's the difference. You don't go, oh no, that's not good, because I've got an outcome here I've got to reach. You scrap that. You're just going with it. So whenever you can, remove it. Something's causing it, stop doing it. Because the thinking is they find their healing. And I always remember, I had a nervous breakdown. I'm sure none of you are on antidepressants or anything. I am, and it's fine. It's a stigma, don't talk about it. But I had a nervous breakdown because I kept pushing myself, thinking I need to be better, because that's all I knew. And when I got diagnosed autistic, I didn't like it, because I was like, well, I'm not that person that Tony Atwood explains. And it was only until I read a book by Donna Williams, who she used to have panic attacks when people left her. I was like, that's me. And I'd show Jane, that's me. And then so I started to try it, and then poor Lee had to spend hours with me. I did a conference with Lee, and I remember thinking, I'm not autistic, I can't be. And I'd ring him 3 o'clock in the morning, say, Lee, am I autistic? I don't know, am I autistic? And then I was like, oh God, I've just been obsessing for 15 hours of, yes, maybe I am. But I don't care now, right? It's not my thing. I don't wake up going, you're autistic. Instead of, whereas before I pushed myself. Anyway, so I wasn't admitted to hospital because my anxiety was too bad. So they worked with me from home, and I had this great guy, Steve, and he was a CPN. And he used to just take me to the pub, and we'd have a Coke, and he'd just let me talk. That was all he did. He accepted me. He used to go, oh, I get a lot of, oh, Aaron. My mum and dad, my man used to, oh, Aaron. Sometimes I just overwhelm people. But anyway, but he just got it. He accepted me. And you know what? The therapists used to come in, and the doctors, they'd come and work with me from home. They used to say, Aaron, you need time to heal. You need to do the things that make you happy. We don't say that to kids, do we? Who's out of school. Oh, no. You need to, do you know what a psychologist, Cam's advice, and again, I'm sorry, this is worst advice ever, and I say this, a kid is traumatized, is out of school, they've told, oh, that was that same girl actually, she's got to get up early in the morning and get dressed. She can't be in her pajamas. She's got to get dressed. I've even read a report where they said that the child has to get in their school uniform and sit at home. But can you see how wrong thinking it is? Now, that person who gave that advice isn't a bad person. They really believe that that's the right thing to do. But I think they fit in that, you know what the APGA have found? The professional low understanding. I kind of think that's where they fit. I am going to just briefly share Pajama Boy, which will help you, right? So he's at school. He's in the journal, the pajama kid. It's in the journal. He was at school. Psychologists had discharged him because they said he was manipulative, and the doctor said to his mom, she just needs to be a better parent. So they all just washed their hands. The school were like, we don't know what to do. I said, right, thinking of this is when I just started writing the Accepting Behaviour. I said, let's have 2 weeks where we take the pressure of school off him. His dad would have to pick him up, put him in a taxi. They're half a mile away the school. I don't know if you've ever been to Castlevale. They all live within the schools. Crying his eyes out. Dad, why are you doing this to me? Crying, his dad's crying, not knowing what to do. They'd put him in the car. A mentor would be at the other end of the car, pick him up and bring him into school. And then the child would be fine, right? But it didn't work. That didn't continue. So I said, let's try something different. So thankfully the school went, yeah, let's go for it. First session, he stayed upstairs. Thought I was just going to be another professional that was going to tell him to be different. The advice was he needed to get out of his pajamas. He wasn't allowed to eat McDonald's, and he couldn't sleep with his mom, and he couldn't play games. If he's not at school, he can't be at home on his iPad, right? So I said, no. You can stay in your pajamas all day, dude, which is why I call him Pajama Kid. You eat what you want, mate. Because here's the thing, I said to mum, he's in trauma. If he's eating food, that's fine. If he has McDonald's for 6 months, don't worry. We'll sort that out after. You can game as much as you need. Gaming is a need. It's not a way of, mentally making them worse. It's not. For him, it definitely wasn't. And you can sleep with your mum if you need to. Of course. Duh. Second session, he's downstairs, big grin on his face in his PJs with his dressing gown on, ready to chat with me. Just had his McDonald's. Within 2 months or so, it wasn't, it was less than that, about 4 weeks, I found out because I'd removed the anxiety. I said, you don't have to go to school. He went, what? I went, no, you're not going ever again until you're ready, right? That's what I said to him. We said, you're the boss. And he went, what do you mean? I said, me, mum and dad were like, what? I said, you tell us what you want to do, and we're going to do the best to help you, because we know you're going through something here and it's not good and it's not right, and we want to help. Within these sessions, it came out, no one else noticed this. All these other professionals hadn't found the core to why, because this is what Albert Einstein's on about, and it made sense to me then. He'd had a science lesson, so he's autistic, had a science lesson about demolition, and he started having intrusive thoughts about the school was going to fall in on him. This kid was going to school every day thinking he was going to die. So no wonder he was crying. No wonder he was having no one else noticed it, because it was all about fixing him. He's got to be in school. He's got to get to school because then he'll be better. No, he actually got worse. Now, when I did the journal article, I had to get permission from mum. This was a couple of years ago. He's full-time in a better school, happier. His mom had left her job. She went, I'm now an SEN support worker in a school. She said, they send all the SEN kids to me and I do what you tell me to do, it is. And I'm like, I'm thinking, if that's not evidence that this thing works, I don't know what is. And she said, do you know what helps him? I went, what? He said, when he can't go to school, he tells me, and I say, you know what, you don't have to, do you? Because if you don't want to go to school, you don't have to. And as a result of that, he goes. And then that Albert Einstein quote made sense to me. You remove it, and then actually they go. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right, so sorry if I'm going over. I'm visiting a school to support another kid. And I'm in my local authority role. And there was a kid outside. He wasn't on my caseload, so I didn't get involved. His mum's there crying. The kid's screaming, absolutely screaming. So we're going, I'm like, is everything all right? It's like, oh yeah, it's fine. So okay, well, I said, if you need me to help, I'm here to maybe help. So the family support worker comes in and says, oh, can you help us? So I went, yeah, what's up? He can't go into school, and he can't go home because the school have told his mom that if he goes home, he's got to stay in his uniform, he can't go on his iPad, and he needs to be, not punished, but he needs to know that home's not good. So I said to her, scrap that. Tell him he can get out of his uniform, get in his pajamas, and he can go on his iPad as long as he needs to. He's going through something and he needs to heal first. Then, once he's calmed down after a few days, then we can maybe step in and find out what's going on. So she went, okay. So she went out, I never saw her again. Then I got this email about a week after, and basically, the dysregulated young man who was his mother wouldn't come in school and also wouldn't leave. See that rock and a hard place? That's really common with our kids. Followed your advice. Within 20 minutes, we were able to support the family and leave the site. So what had I done? Removed the thing that made this kid anxious. See how simple it is. Amazing to see differences. Calmer, managing transition more easily, less disruptive. Once again, thank you. But so I don't even know this woman, and all she did was took the advice of removing something. She did it, and then it changed this kid's life. Does that make sense? Are you convinced yet? It's pretty powerful stuff, isn't it? Right. Second thing, remind. This is it. This is like. Oh, don't break the TV. This, for me, it comes from my mum. Bless her. I'm sure she didn't mean it when I'm there on the floor. What's wrong with me, Mum? It's not your fault. What's wrong with me, Mum? She always, my mum's not here anymore, bless her, but she always used to say to me, it's not my fault. And everyone in our family thought I was a tearaway. And I was. I used to nick my brother's clothes, and it used to annoy him because he used to wear Elise tracksuits. John was the cool one. And I was just the div that I don't know what I used to wear. I remember acid trousers. Don't know what I wore them for about a week. But anyway, so she always told me, and I always believed it. Okay? So this is what I naturally do now with all the kids I work with, all different ages. And the ones who are non-verbal, you just show them by just being awesome around them, don't you? Do you know what I mean? This is it. Honestly, just this one sentence, just walk around, go and say that, and apply it to yourselves as well, because autism isn't our fault, is it? Do you know what I mean? Really quick case study. This is another kid I'm working with at the moment. Kid under the blanket. This kid is just ace. And we're doing a documentary at the moment. He's one of the stars in this documentary. Mainstream school placement failed. Specialist wasn't even tried. It was like, no way. Applied the foundations of acceptance. And now we're doing an EA task package with him. So, the kid under the blanket. When anyone ever come into the house, his mum would have to say the same thing. I'm so sorry. He's hiding under a blanket. He can't talk to you. Mum really gets it, but felt alone because all the professionals were telling her she's got to be a bit better. So anyway, I said to him, dude, you know it's not your fault, don't you? As he's under the blanket. Never met me before. I started shuffling, and his mum hadn't heard it either. I said, yeah, I'm literally here to help you understand that the things you're struggling with, that's not your fault. And we're the ones that have got to help you. You haven't got to change anything. Second week, there he is at the door. His blanket's folded up there just in case. In the living room, he's all dressed with a big smile on his face. I didn't do anything. I just told him it's not his fault. These are autistic kids. Oh no, he needed a complex social story and an hour next. He needed to know, now the professor's going to be here. I'm not a professor, but you know, now Aaron the professional will be here, and then you can play your Xbox. No, this was a man who is consistently telling him, you're awesome. Do you know what we do with him now? This kid's amazing. With photography, we go for walks. He controls the whole thing. Tells me how to play it. I have had to be an Xbox gamer now because this kid just, he tells me how to, because I just get shot all the time. I'm awful. But I'm using it, and he's leading me and he's telling me. And there's a social skill. I didn't have to teach, he doesn't have to go to a social skills group to get better at being social. He can do it. I just needed to see it and give him that opportunity to be him. And you know, one of the issues that he had, and I knew this was going to take time, he struggled to say no because here he was traumatized. Because he couldn't say no, because he'd always get told off. Do you know what he does now? I come in with all my gear. What should we do today? Should we do the music? Or we do all sorts in here. Tassie's brilliant. We do whatever they want to do. And he'll just go, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. And me and his mum are like, yes, he said no, yes. Because if you can get a kid to say no and feel good, two things are happening. They know you accept them, and they know it's not their fault. They're not manipulative, want to get their own way, okay? Now, they can be, but very rare. Right, So, and this is feedback. From the first time he came to home, he knows in relation to his needs, it's not his fault. That was huge for us. The impact has been massive. The difference is now expressing himself much more, and we've leaving the house. We've had a blip over the winter. He just wanted to stay in because it's cold. I'm like, yeah, cool, just Xbox, fine. He's gone to Disneyland at the moment. He's in Paris. I keep saying that. His mum's going to tell me off. Florida, the proper Disneyland. But anyway, so third one, almost finished. Third one, reassure. So the first two are the most, what I pretty much use every session, every day. These two are more kind of affirmations. It's going to be okay. That message, it's so simple again. I was a 7-year-old boy who used to fly around the playground. I had friends, but I used to be Superman, and I used to have a gizmo. Do you remember Gremlins? I used to walk around my gizmo. I thought gizmo was real. I didn't care, I just thought it was real. So I'd show, but I remember once I'm there in this playground and there's all these kids and they're walking around me going, mad, mad, mad. And they were all chanting it. And I never forget it. And I remember standing thinking, oh, so that's what's wrong with me. I remember it. It's clear to this day. And that's when I started to program that it's me. And I know Jane probably will go, it is, see, even the kids understood. When a child is distressed, don't try and fix it. Don't think you've got to fix the problem. I struggle with this, but it works. Boxer boy, I haven't got time, but literally in a nutshell, angry, hated himself, was fighting with his sisters. He's about 13, this lad. Awesome, scared the hell out of me. He's like awesome, frankly born, this lad. Just couldn't cope with things. You know, the lads in the playground, oh, going at him, he looked at you, okay. Poof. Just used to hit, get to the head's office, right? So that was you can gather what, right? Applied some foundations with him. I only had about 3 sessions with him. Stops getting angry, starts going to school, stops fighting with his sisters. And all the foundation that changed this family. I met them in the school. They were just amazing human beings and they just wanted to help their kid. So we said, just tell him it's not his fault and give him some space. Remove the thing that's pressurising him. Couldn't sit and eat with them and he couldn't cope with family gatherings. So I just said, let him just go in his garden on his own. So they did that. So we saw a definite aim to him embracing this. But the big thing about this was his mum calls me crying and I'm like, oh God, he's hit a teacher. He hugged her for the first time in 13 years. So I'm like saying to the school, oh my God, this is awesome. This Accept, get the head in. We've got to tell him about this Accept. Well, you know, he needs to get better with maths and English and, you know, he needs to start attending. So, but it's so powerful, this stuff, honestly. Right, last one, reaffirm. It's really simple. Come on now. Come on, Paula, we've put the ramps in. Just because that ramp's not working, you need to get out your chair and crawl in like everyone else, right? Meet us halfway. You don't meet them halfway with the Accept approach. You meet them all the way, okay? You go, oh man. You don't have to have answers with the Accept approach. You're just kind of going, God, that must be so difficult. Like when Lee tells me about all his problems, I just go, oh, Lee, that must be so hard. I'm only joking. Because the solution will come. Yeah. That kid answered your question eventually, didn't I? Hopefully. That kid will go to school or will go to something that will make them feel better. Does that help you answer your question? Okay. Yeah, that's it. So that is the Accept approach. No matter what, I'm by your side. No matter what, I accept you. That's it. This is so the Facebook thing. I'm going to start doing lives more now. So probably once a month, because I think people get a lot from them. And then the YouTube channel, there's so much free stuff on there. There's classroom tips, there's parental tips, there's gaming tips, there's OCD, there's everything. Everything that pops into my mad little head, I put onto YouTube. And that's it, and that's me.